Good evening, all. So thanks for the introduction. Basically, cybersecurity is one of the critical risks these days. So as we know, how to scale up is we need to go digital. At the same time, cybersecurity is a predominant risk that is riding on, right? So it's an easy job for me because we have technical experts who can help us to navigate. But if they fail, you know whom to reach out to me, right? So now going on with our first round of question in general. Yeah. So how many of you know there's an act is in force, DPDPA? Okay. How many of you have complied with DPDPA? 100%. Okay. Okay. And how many of you use AI? Everybody, right? Whatever, whether it is ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever other things. So basically, as you know, if you want to scale up, digital is the only solution. At the same time, we are also riding on cybersecurity risk, the data protection risk, and whatnot, right? Today we are talking about we are also expecting quantum computer, right? So it talks about, it can hack Bitcoin in about 5-10 minutes. The Bitcoin is gone. How many of you hold Bitcoin? I'm not telling you, it's not a recommendation that you sell it. I'm just asking in general, right? So yeah, coming to Mahantesh first, since you represent board, I want to ask him, is cybersecurity data protection is considered in the board, or it is still lying outside and we are still asking, do we have a permission to get in? Do we have a budget? I mean, that's a categorical question. I'll come to so maybe you can answer altogether.
So definitely it's in, earlier we used to think cybersecurity and as well as intellectual property is part of our business. Now no more, it's a part of business. Now this is particularly, it has to coming from the top funnel to bottom level. Now board is stated taking a lot of extra milestone to understand how data is going to be important, how production is to be happening, and it's irrespective of customer centric, irrespective of associate centric, and also overall it's going to be big transformation between data production is a vital role. So now board, most of the board is started looking into that. Yes, this is nowhere if we are not making the alignment. Now this is not a cost center. Now it is an investment towards the organization. It is a mandate right now. If we are not investing ourselves, it is very difficult. We can't trust anything, but we need to go with that particular alignment towards on overall journey of our cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, it should not be only one vision. I can speak about only one thing. Lot of things is going to be transformation. Best example, earlier we need to start about, automation transport to AI is moving towards into that quantum. Quantum is going to be changed into that cognitive engineering. These are 4-5 phases is going to be transformed. Now a lot of things has to be changed, but we need one custodian. How we are going to make the custodian? It has to be driven by cybersecurity is a vital role to play that. Most of the organization as an individual or corporate or man-centric.
Sure, thanks. I would go, if at all anybody is looking for a DPDPA, I would consider it as a data governance capital, yes. What they're putting. It's a top-up capital. That's what I always recommend.
Definitely, it's a governance is going to be play vital. Yeah.
So moving on to Aniket, how should organizations rethink cybersecurity as a strategic enabler rather than just a defensive function? I think he answered to some extent. Maybe you can continue from there, especially with DPDPA is currently in force and it is going to be enforced May 2027 onwards.
Absolutely. It reminds me of a poster I had seen in a conference, and it was quite a provocative poster. It said, if you think compliance is costly, try non-compliance. And DPDPA is something which is to remind everyone of the same, where while the deadline is November 26 and then eventually May 2027, the effort that is needed to build towards that, it starts with the top management recognizing the need for doing this, providing the necessary budget, and then the manpower and the effort that is needed. So it all starts with the top management recognizing it and providing their support for the same. Usually, the chief information security officers or the CISOs get asked an impossible question, and the question is, are we safe? Can we be hacked? Now, a CISO can't say no to that, we can't be hacked, because nobody knows, everyone knows that you can never have 0% risk. There's always an unknown. The CISO can also not say that, I don't know, maybe we can get hacked. In that case, the job is in danger. Eventually, it all boils down to, have we covered all the risks? Have we done our due diligence? And I think that due diligence and covering and identifying your risks in the organization, that's where the effort should be spent. Because cybersecurity is not a one-time thing. You do one gap analysis, you do one audit, you get to know the current risks that you're having. Maybe 6 months later, you do another audit, and you end up knowing that you are using an AI tool for which there's an exploit and that could leak your data. So what is safe today may not be safe tomorrow. And that's why a continuous health check of your cybersecurity posture is something that everyone must conduct regularly.
So thank you. Move on to Diwakar. What metrics or KPIs should boards and CXOs focus on to measure the cybersecurity effectiveness, considering the enormous investment they would be making? Of course, as a board and company, they would expect an ROI, right? How do you think they should address in terms of the KPI? What kind of metrics they should manage?
All right. So question is, what should we measure when we talk about cybersecurity? See, first of all, the cybersecurity, I think everybody understands the importance of it, the gravitas of it, but the extent of it in terms of to whom it is applicable. Today, almost every company is a technology company or IT company. Technology, while it is a big enabler, many, let's say, cloud or AI, they also come with the inherent risk of being an aggregator or a kind of a single point of failures with respect to cybersecurity, while increasing the attack surfaces almost exponentially. What are the attack surfaces? That's like your face where you could get punched. That's like your area from where a threat or an adversary can peep into your system. Now, when we talk about cybersecurity, there are so many things, so many metrics. But if I have to pick 4 based upon what would give me the best value for the buck and my agility and other kind of readiness, I would say the first is about how responsive or agile an organization is. There are, say, 2 metrics we typically talk about, MTTR and MTTD. So it's not like MTR. So it's mean time to respond. And before that, MTTD, mean time to detect. In any system, some of the threats will continuously keep on happening. You cannot avoid that. Like in a house, the sparks may keep on happening internally within electric circuits and all. All you have to ensure that if a spark catches fire, you should be able to resolve it in a good amount of time. So this is your mean time. So that's the first metric. Second is about the blast radius, what it is. So when a bomb explodes, how far it is going to impact. That's a technical term, blast radius, but it actually means how well you are able to compartmentalize your system, containerize your system. It's like a ship. If it gets leaked, right, you would have seen the movies that there would be a lot of compartments. One compartment gets filled and then it stops water. If it gets breached, the next compartment, remember Titanic or any of the movies like that. Similarly, the software systems, the IT system has to be built that something bad happens, you can contain the impact. So that's about the blast radius. Third is how the things are changing. Today, It's no longer spam, no longer that phishing. Today, the biggest threat is identity and access. With AI, somebody can assume your identity with your face, with your voice, with your credentials. So easy to get. And once you get that, you actually get access in the center, in the hub of the system, and you can do many things. And final is about the RTO, not the road traffic one, but recovery time objective, or RTP, recovery point objective. That means how well I will be able to recover myself. What is my resilience? So I would say these 4 things, if we focus well on there, define the systems, we are good. Thanks. Sorry for the long answer.
Thank you, Diwakar, for highlighting the digital identity. And of course, it's not about just digital assets, right? It's all about the digital identity also to protect. Moving on to Rajat, how can leadership balance innovation and growth with the need to protect data and maintain trust? As a virtual CISO and your CISO activities, a follow-up question would be, can CISO be a DPO, or can they also protect the data? If you can add some light.
I'll start with the first one, where we say that what does leadership teams do, right? Normally what happens in the industry is leadership teams try to focus on business. They want to get revenue running, they want to get clients onboarded, but they always keep security as a second layer of check, right? Like, let's get business onboarded, let's get revenue generated, and then we can move on to the security part. I think that needs to be changed. Like, the mindset from the reactive thing, if you notice in the past 5-10 years, right, there have been a lot of companies, all the major companies that you have heard about in India, be it Zomato, be it Meesho, be it Big Basket, all of these have been breached. After these have been breached, they have started to take in security seriously, right? So this is something what we call a reactive approach. An incident happens with you, the data of millions of users of India, passwords, be it your physical addresses. Passwords can even be rotated, but physical addresses cannot be rotated. Domino's India have been breached, right? So what happens here is they all have a reactive mindset. What leadership teams need to think is to have that proactive mindset. From the starting stage of development, of the business development, of the product development, have your security inclination. Don't have a proper security team, but at least have 1 or 2 person who has that security insights, how this can impact the business, how this can impact the users that you're onboarding, the B2B businesses that you're working with, right? And this is what happens, I think, globally. Even if we check in the Europe region, we have GDPR's law that are that strict. We are trying to implement something like DPTP in India. That will, as Aniket sir mentioned, we'll have it by 2027. But again, with GDPR laws, something like you have, even if you have a customer data, that has to be deleted within a certain period of time. There are strict penalties based on that. Something like that is not yet being based in India, and we are hoping that would come by next year, right? So I think a proactive mindset of the leadership team, of the executive teams, of the team entirely, right? Especially in this AI world, because AI is changing things a lot. And even if we talk about just last week, there have been multiple breaches of the major libraries that have been there, right? NPM supply chain attacks, Ixios library that have around 10 million plus downloads just in a week. So that have been compromised, their authors have been compromised, and 99% all the applications that you might see might be using that. Correct. So especially in this AI era, while it makes our life easier for the technological team, for the business development teams, it also makes life easier for attackers, right? I have been an hacker, I have been a bug bounty hunter, I have done this a lot, and now with AI coming into the picture, I see how that gap has reduced a bit, right? Previously, I used to hunt for around, let's say, 20 hours straight. Now I just need 1 hour and maybe my AI integrated with it, my agent working for me, right? So that is how the team is evolving. That is how the infrastructure is evolving. So we have to have a proactive mindset related to that. Thank you.
I think it's well captured. It's just like after an attack, you cannot recover, right? So same thing. If you don't have an insurance, you cannot claim. So we should think more proactive for the cybersecurity and data protection rather than being a reactive kind of a thing. It might not even work. Moving on to next one with you, Rajat, to start with. What are the biggest operational challenges business face when implementing cybersecurity at scale right? Because you also mentioned, what do you call, it's a chicken and egg story, right? Should we scale up and then implement security or other things, or should we start? It's always easy to start from the beginning so that you can always monitor and always scale it rather than at the end. So how do you look at it, Rajat?
Yeah, great question. I think continuing to the last section, I have seen this multiple times, right? I've worked with Zomato when it was in that growing stage from a team of 10 engineers to a team of 600 engineers and then going to that IPO stage. So there were a lot of challenges that we faced initially with a team of, let's say, 100 people overall in the organization. It becomes very easier to have a visibility, what applications we are using, what infrastructure, how many vendors we have, what data are we sharing with the vendors, right? That becomes a very big attack surface because when we start with a 10 team of 100, we start with a team of 200 that we have quite a visibility. But as we grow up and as we scale up, if you have noticed, Zomato grew up at a very vast scale from the period of 2018, 2019, 2020. From a team of total 500, they have scaled to 5,000. And that happened over, like, let's say 6 months. We saw it happening within 6 months. The team are expanding, the devices are going. And that is where I think the risk occurs, right? Because when we had a small string team, we had that visibility of where our data is, with which vendor our data is flowing, how it is flowing. But when that scale up, when we have 99 vendors plugged in just for a single marketing service, when we have different 99 vendors for, let's say, a marketing team on LinkedIn or Instagram, right? That visibility loses a bit. So I think once the organization moves from 1 to 100 scale, and that is the most critical stage, and I think we have to bring that more visibility part on the risk part as well, like how we are increasing the risk, where we are increasing the risk, and how do we manage it accordingly.
Thank you. Aniket, if you want to add another few points to the same question, I
Sure.
think, from your cybersecurity consulting perspective.
Sure. I would say the scalability usually maps across the people, process, and the technology, where it becomes really difficult to find skilled workforce. People growing, now you will need a solution that is much more mature. Now the magic quadrant from partner might make more sense. And that's also another level. Then comes the governance that sits on top of all of this. How frequently are you going to have the governance activities? So if one covers all of these things, the scalability of any cybersecurity team can work really well. There is one more point I would like to share, that is you need a lot of translators, because cybersecurity people talk cybersecurity language. But if you have 5 different application teams, you go and tell them that I need to make a firewall change, they will give you a blank face. So you need somebody who can speak the business language as well. And that's why we are seeing the BISO role coming up these days, the Business Information Security Officer, who is going to do that translation and really have everybody on the same page in a way.
Yeah, thank you. Moving on to Mahantesh. How can organizations ensure that security policies are practical and consistently enforced across all teams? And continuing with the same.
Sure, thanks. Definitely, most of the organization moving forwards into a role-based organization. It's all about on the role, and next is about the policies. Policies has to be easiest and simplest format to understand on the associate and as well as management. This bridge has to be updated. Third thing is we need to define the complete standard operating plan, understand what exactly which role is going to be the sequence of cybersecurity, what is the threat is going to update, what we need to update, and take the accountability. So nowadays, accountability is little less, but we need to enforce this accountability for specific milestone. This is very important today's scenario. Last but not the least, we need to understand how we are going to make the cadence, and also governance has to be updated. Earlier, we used to maintain, okay, today is going to be happen, we need to make the rectification. As a drill, what we need to update on the disaster drill. So we need to maintain, let them happen, we'll see. Now every day is a disaster drill. We need to maintain that kind of sequences to understand, and also governance is very important, and more or less, now the board is taking a very bold step to understand how we are going to implement on the sequence of urgency of the Data Protection Act.
Thank you, Mahantesh. Moving on to Diwakar, I think maybe the final question. Since it's a top-down approach, whether it is cybersecurity or data protection, what role it plays, especially for the employee training, awareness, and all those aspects in general, so that you can successfully implement the cybersecurity or data protection in general, right? Because one is, key thing is awareness and training for the employees. Where do you see other companies are failing at that, or are they? Maybe your thoughts.
How do we ensure that employees or all the participants, stakeholders in the company actually play their role to ensure cybersecurity? I ask you a question, right? When we go for a long trip or somewhere outside home for multiple days, we instinctively kind of do a couple of things. We ensure that our windows are locked. Mom will say, okay, please turn the curtain up so that the dust doesn't come in. You turn off light, you ensure the tap is closed. You do multiple things as a behavior because you have been doing that since a long time to ensure that house is safe. Same applies for the employees as well. We have to bring the latest adoption of tools and how do we ensure that they work at the optimal level as a behavior of the employee. I will give you an example of from my company. We are running phishing simulations, so if a phishing mail or a kind of a mail which comes, you click it, you flag it, you get prize and all that. But basically, it's like inculcating that belief. And when we are building systems, we have to build security from design. It's very, very important to keep our guards up and build for tomorrow. It should be adaptable. Your house could be fully secure. You have cameras, digital cameras, all check-in, checkpoint, all logs, all digital logs. But what about tomorrow when a drone can fly in and actually invade your privacy? Have you secured that? Say, for example, you have a very high value target inside your house in terms of a big politician or whatever it is. Similarly, have you kind of secured your house from the rodents and all? That could be a different angle altogether. So we have to work on multiple things. Importance is that we bring security into design perspective. That's why you will, and reduce the reliance on predefined things. So that's why you'll hear about zero trust. That's why you will hear about continuous adaptive, and use AI to advantage in terms of doing things continuously. Because if you won't do, the attackers are anyway going to do it. So there it is going to be someone continuously bombarding on your security infrastructure, and one crack is enough for the person to go in. The cost of breach is very, very high, is increasing. It's almost kind of 1 to 2 million on average. Just a year ago, a company paid, Fortune 50 company paid 75 million for a ransomware. And the costs are going really high. You might have heard about so many news about AWS, Amazon getting down. It's because of Iran war, but also about a lot about cyber attack. So yes, how we have to inoculate this into our behavior.
Sure, thank you. I think in the interest of time, I want the audience to take something out of this. What is the one cybersecurity mistake businesses should avoid in 2026? If you can add in one line or one word, if you can quickly.
If I
Want me to repeat?
I would say investing in the right direction is very important. So the audience can use the RRR framework, know what makes your company rich, what regulates your company, and what is it that is going to rise as a new problem. You should keep an eye on these three. With these three, you can identify where to invest in cybersecurity. Yeah.
No more is a defensive function. It's going to be completely driven by core function of the business value.
Yeah, I think Aniket and Mahantesh and Diwakar have mentioned it already, but as we have seen,
Just as
Dhurendra,
one
right?
quick takeaway for everybody, what mistake they can.
Yeah, exactly. As we have seen the movie Dhurendra, right? If you remember the dialogue that in the initial part of the movie, the first part I'm talking about, these guys have to be right only one time. We have to be always right? So that is what security is all about. So again, yeah, coming back to the question, biggest cybersecurity risk is, I would again stick to the visibility part, that having the core visibility into how your data is getting shared outside the organization, be it outside your network, be it outside your devices, be it outside your firewall or anything, right? So just have an eye on where your data is sitting, where it is flowing, and that should be, I think, a good way to go.
I would say in 2026, understand AI and make it your friend so that you could do AI for security and security for AI, because when you are going to build AI workloads, it's very important to secure them. That is going to be next threat vector, and it could create havoc if it's not managed properly.
Yeah, thank you all. I think it was a very good panel. I'm sure one thing we understood, cybersecurity is not a one-time fix. It's a continuous journey, whether it is data protection or cybersecurity. Yeah, thank you.